Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Merry Christmas and welcome back to another Kayak Nugget. Today, we are talking about proactive versus reactive paddling. You might have heard of this as aggressive versus defensive paddling. And there's often an indication that defensive paddling bad, aggressive paddling good, or proactive paddling good, reactive paddling bad. We're going to speak into that today and maybe hopefully try and find a little bit more nuance in this subject. So let's roll the intro and get into it. Before we kick off with some definitions, what do people think of the new intro? My brother Tim has very kindly updated my old one, and I'm sure he and I would both love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks, Tim. Anyway, proactive versus reactive paddling. Where has the dichotomy come from, and what do the words even mean? Generally, when kayakers and coaches talk about this, proactive paddling is taken to mean dynamically and deliberately moving your kayak on the water, endeavouring to keep the bow dry and direct it to specific places on the river. This is a style characterised by a powerful, purposeful forward stroke and might manifest in clean lines and adoring cheers from your friends. At least that's what coaches will tell you. By contrast, reactive paddling would be taken to mean going where the river's current takes you, without deliberate directional control, and the style might well be characterised by bracing strokes and might manifest in missed eddies, sloppy boofs, floundering in holes, etc. It might even be described, somewhat disparagingly, as driftwood paddling. Other coaches might use words like aggressive versus defensive or passive to mean something similar. Whatever the terminology used, there is a definite sense that proactive paddling is seen as positive and reactive as negative. And whilst I don't wholeheartedly disagree with that, I think there is more nuance to this subject than first appears. Context matters on this one. At the end of this kayak nugget, I'm going to suggest some alternate terms that I aim to use as a coach and that you might consider using too, so stick around to the end to find out. Without question, proactive paddling is a positive thing. Even calling it aggressive paddling, which might in some cases produce an over-reliance on brute force rather than technique, is forgivable, I think, because at least calling it aggressive generally encourages people to get their body weight forward and dynamically drive their boats with purpose. It suggests some mental grit to tackle the obstacles the river may present as well. As I said, characterising this with a dynamic pre- and post-rotated forward stroke is spot on. Active engagement of body, boat and blade to keep the hull of your kayak driving high and dry over the green water, with a specific end goal and specific clear checkpoints en route, whether that is a particular set of eddies, a drop, a wave, whatever. This enables proactive paddling, planned in advance, to be measurable. Obvious success criteria, like did I make the eddy, against which to check ourselves. This is all good stuff. Proactive paddling is good. But just because proactive paddling is good, does that really mean it's a zero-sum game and reactive paddling must be bad? I don't think so. Yes, defensive paddling of the driftwood variety can land you in some very sticky situations very quickly if it's applied in the wrong place. But I think kayakers are kidding themselves if they claim to have never slouched in their seat or laid back on the back deck in a calmer section to engage in some cloud watching. The point here, as I already said, is that context matters. Sometimes, on a Bimbley section, for instance, being driftwood is exactly the experience we come for. Simply drifting downstream, taking in the beauty of creation around us. Clearly, I'm not advocating for doing this in a steep technical gorge, But surely it's clear that being driftwood does have its place. But even the classic definition of reactive paddling starts to come unstuck when a situation occurs on the river. For whatever reason, whether by inactivity, negligence, or a simple mistake, we end up offline, sideways in a hole, pinned, whatever it might be. The techniques used in these situations might well involve a solid, dynamic forward stroke, but they are just as likely to also involve skills traditionally ascribed to the reactive camp. Braces, backstrokes perhaps. Why? Because we are reacting, responding to a less than ideal scenario and seeking to return to a place of safety and positivity. To say that a whole slew of skills are reactive and in some way bad suggests that we are always 100% in control in the whitewater environment. This is a nonsense. The river is always stronger than us, and even paddling with flawless, proactive technique, we cannot assume that we've achieved total mastery. There are always elements of unpredictability. And there are situations, therefore, that call for a reaction, for reactive techniques. Without these, we can easily get up a creek without a proverbial. Obviously, a lot of this comes down to semantics. I don't know of any coaches who don't teach the value of playing in holes or use of back sweeps and braces to respond to situations. But the language we use matters. I've foolishly alienated people before by the words I choose to use, and I want to rectify that and promote use of language that builds people up and includes them. So I want to suggest some alternative words. Instead of proactive and reactive, how about we start thinking about preventative and curative techniques? A cure is a positive thing, much more so I think than a reaction is. Whether that is the cure for being stuck in a nasty hole, or the cure for your blues as you gaze at the sky and leisurely drift downstream. A prevention is also positive, taking deliberate steps to avoid issues. No need for these terms to be at odds with one another. Together, preventative paddling and curative paddling build into a holistic, well-rounded kayaker who is able to drive the boat where they want it to go, but also respond when the boat does not go where they want it to go. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. If you like preventative and curative as terms, then let me know in the comments. Or if you have suggestions for even better terms, then share those. I would love to read your thoughts. Thanks as always to IR and Radical Rider for keeping me dry and warm on the water. Thank you for tuning in, and if you've enjoyed this, then drop a like down below and share it wherever you feel comfortable. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.